Since 2018, we've seen images of migrant children crammed into cages after being separated from their families. Now the Biden administration is being sued over horrendous conditions at the federal holding centers, which currently house a record number of children, and they've become a breeding ground for mental illness. President of the American Immigration Lawyers Association, Alan Orr, joins me to talk about this. Alan, you know, I'm amazed. We saw every day there was a story during the Trump years about how this very kind of thing, these very stories, these very fact situations, corporate media is not covering this. For those who aren't familiar, could you explain exactly what the Flores Agreement is and why it has to do with this story?
So the Flores Agreement is a 20-year-old agreement that is basically controls the way that children, immigrant children, are allowed to be detained and how long they're able to be detained.
So, Alan, here's the question. This is no different from what the media was so crazy about every day. Trump bad this, Trump bad this, Trump bad. This is the same thing, maybe even worse. Now, the Biden administration is being sued over violations of this agreement. And what exactly are the lawyers for these migrant children alleging? Because it doesn't sound any different from what we heard just 3 years ago.
Well, it's a little bit different, so I'll make those distinctions, but the final result's basically the same, which is meaning we're not meeting the standard that we're required to meet by law. Under the former administration, all of these children would even be in the United States. They would have been turned away at the border. They would not have had, unaccompanied or accompanied, they would not have been allowed in. So that's gauge number one. So the Biden administration has allowed these people into the country into care. The Biden administration has changed the custody of these children from being in an ICE detention center to Health and Human Services. Health and Human Services has the responsibility of being better caretaker than the detention centers. However, they're not meeting the standard. So therefore, there are housing conditions, there are food conditions that are not being met, and as well as the just matriculation and also just the processing of the children. And that is the problem. The surge that has happened at the border has created this condition.
Yeah, the stories I'm seeing these aren't minor stories at all. You have children that have been there 60, 90 days. They're having mental illness problems, having to be counseled, having to be put on medication for how bad the situation is there. I mean, am I getting that wrong? Because that's what I'm reading.
No, you're getting it right. And the point of it is the intent is a little bit different between the two administrations from a lawyer's perspective. But as you know, we have sued the government based on having the same conditions. So even a trial and failure at this case is still a failure.
Well, we're 6 months into the Biden presidency at this point, and how's the situation along the border changed? You've pointed out he's letting the children in, but once they're in, they're being caged for 60 to 90 days under situations that are causing mental illness. I mean, this is what I'm reading. Now, please correct me if I'm wrong. These kids are suffering mental illness because of the conditions there. They're having to be counseled. They're having to get medication because of their mental illness. Did I get that wrong, or did the story get it wrong? What am I missing here?
No, I think the condition is not. The answer is there are problems that need to be fixed. The intent is not suffering the immigrants as it was under the first administration or the prior administration. It's a little bit different. It's not a deterrent situation. It's a failure of duty in this situation. And the problem is not exactly stemmed to the border. It's always stemmed to Congress. Congress needs to implement and change our immigration rules to allow these individuals to have their asylum, their day in court, and better processing. That's an overall problem for Congress to address. The Biden administration, under his current policy, has to figure out a way to manage immigration. There's not just immigration at the southern border, but there's immigration around the world right now. And COVID has hindered the process for a year. So state departments have been closed and visa processing has been delayed. And this is a serious struggle for the Biden administration to step up to, and they need to find a solution.
Okay, so the kids are being held at a place called Fort Bliss. They're being held at an oil worker. Tell me if I'm wrong about this. They're being held at an oil worker camp in Pecos, Texas, that is a tent city that was put up just for this. The kids this is CBS News, anxiety attacks, depression, that's suicidal level of depression, suicidal threat of level of depression. And they're being held for 60 to 90 days without any solution, and HHS is doing nothing about it. Is that kind of what the situation is down there?
I think HHS wasn't prepared I mean, that's appropriately. It's just mismanagement at this point to make sure that things are done appropriately. And really, for most of us, we don't believe that the kids should be detained at all. There are probably a lot of community service places that can help pick up where we need to. But all the money we have to do other things, we could get this right. And it's only going to get worse.
Okay, so we've got 800 kids there that are unoccupied, they're unaccompanied children. And on top of that, you've got about 1,000 more kids that are in these camps. So right now, it's balls in HHS's court. The lawsuit's pending, and that's the only chance of really turning this around. No education, no recreational services, undercooked food, the list goes on forever. Okay, so you followed this story a long time under the Trump administration. Now we're dealing with the Biden administration. What are your chances? What are the chances of this lawsuit succeeding?
It's going to be successful. We're talking about children and we're talking about the United States. The policy has been clear for 20 years. It wasn't working under the Obama administration. It wasn't working under the Trump administration, and it's not working now. So we need to right size the standard and step up to what we've assumed as an obligation, because either we could turn them away, or which we have humanely decided that we're not going to let unaccompanied children return to whatever damages there were outside the United States, which may be worse than what they're seeing in these detention centers or these facilities by HHS. And so therefore, we need to figure out the right solution. And part of that is figuring out how immigration should work overall, and so that people won't send their minors unaccompanied to the border any longer.
Okay. Alan, thank you for joining me. And most importantly, thank you for your work out there, Alan. If you weren't keeping up with this, obviously corporate media is not keeping up with it. Thank you for joining me, okay?
Thank you for covering this important story.
Finally tonight, some good news. A McDonald's franchise has agreed to a major settlement that can have nationwide implications for fast food workers in the COVID era. Farron Cousins joins me again to talk about this case. I remember we did a story early on in this. I don't know if we talked about this, but McDonald's was handing out dog diapers, and they were handing out coffee filters to their employees to use as masks.
Right.
Do you remember this?
It was truly sickening.
Yeah.
And of course, they at the same time letting their employees get assaulted
Yes.
for telling customers you had to wear a mask. But so this is a really great decision here. You've got this, it's a single franchise out in California, but it does have nationwide impacts here, because they finally agreed, okay, listen, we'll give you real masks, we'll give you the latex gloves, we'll give you paid sick leave,
Really?
which
That's
is
a big
huge.
victory. That's
very huge.
Yeah.
And so hopefully, we've already seen some inklings that the whole McDonald's corporation may start moving in this direction. There is a big fight to try to make that happen.
14,000 McDonald's in the U.S. It's like a super spreader.
It really is. And so if we can get these people protected, they already have a difficult job where they're treated insanely poorly.
Yeah.
We have talked about the abuse
Yeah.
they suffer plenty of times. So this is a great step forward and a victory
It's come
for
a
the
long
workers.
way only from lawsuits. That's
Right.
the only reason.
It is.
Lawyers saying, damn it, government won't do it, let me step in. Thank you for joining me, okay?
Thank you.
That's all for tonight. Find us on Twitter and on Facebook at facebook.com/RT America's Lawyer. You can watch all RT America programs on DirecTV channel 321. Also stream them live on YouTube. And be sure, check out RT's new portable app where you can watch all your favorite shows. I'm Mike Papantonio, and this is America's Lawyer, where every week we tell you stories that corporate media is ordered not to tell because their advertisers won't let them and because their political affiliations don't allow them to tell the story. Have a great night.